Hey there, revolutionaries. My name is Chris. I want to welcome y'all to the brand new Revo TV YouTube site. Pretty excited about it. It's going to be a multi-purpose site. We might put some music on it. We're going to try to put our sermons on here. But the main purpose is for two things, and that's if you missed a service or you're out of town or anything like that and you wanted to see what was going on, we're going to put that on for you so you can see what's going on. And number two, we're going to try to reach to some people we normally can't reach to, that we as we are located, wouldn't be able to reach to most people in other states or different things like that. And I want you to tell them about these videos, send them out. So that's what the purpose is. It's not very high tech right now. I've got my phone in front of me right now. We'll try to make a cool intro video and fun stuff like that. But as of right now, it's just basically this. So you're gonna love it. Anyway, tonight we had a great discussion, and I want to open that up with you just for a few seconds. There's a moment in your life, in every person's life, and it may last for 1 second or it may last for the rest of your life, to when you realize and you come to the conclusion of who you really are. To where you stop believing your own lies, where you kind of become in the position of the mirror and you really see what you look like, of who you are. It's kind of like if you go out to eat. Say you're on a date with somebody. Let's say I'm on a date with Chelsea. And I'm smiling and I think I'm looking good for her. And I go to the bathroom and I'm washing my hands. And I see a big piece of lettuce up in my teeth. I'm like, man, I looked goofy. And I think about everything that I've said, all the big smiles I said, or the big laughters I had. I think about that one thing. Now, every person's going to have that moment in life to where, I have a saying, it's believing your own hype. To where you stop believing your own hype for just a few seconds and you really realize who you are. You come to the conclusion that you have an anger problem. You come to the conclusion that you have an addiction. You come to the conclusion that you've been a hypocrite. You come to the conclusion that you really aren't living it, you're just acting it out. Now, this moment can last 1 second, or it can last the rest of your life. Here's how. You can either, when you are faced with this moment of who you really are, it can last for 1 second because you can either do two things. You can jump right back into the lies, or jump right back into excuses. Go right back into the lies of, I don't really have that bad of a problem. I'm not really that bad, or you don't understand. It just looks that way, but I'm not really that bad. And you start lying to yourself again, and you start believing it again. And there's nothing worse than when someone believes their own lies. Come on, how many times have I done it? How many times have we all done it? And the second is excuses. But you don't know what I've gone through. Chris, you don't understand my anger because you don't know what I had to deal with. I mean, everybody has excuses. And everybody has a phrase for excuses, and we're not going to go there right now. But let's be honest, excuses are always there. Oh, but you don't know how hard it is. I need this addiction. Or it's not that I'm not forgiving them. It's just that I'm being smart to not be hurt again. Somebody once told me that true forgiveness is proven to when you see that person again and the first thought you think is not their failure. When you give them a choice, my screen's popping up. When you give them the opportunity to hurt you again, but you just believe they're not going to. When that forgiveness, and that's a very hard forgiveness. It's so easy to say, don't get me wrong. But when we are faced with our true problems, our true failures, and who we really are, and our weaknesses, see, that's the point to where God can really truly start to move in us, because it says in our weakness He is strong. But if we don't allow it to be really represented as a weakness and we start making excuses and lying, then He can never be strong in that. Now, I look in the scriptures and I see in 2 Samuel chapter 12, When David, who was a mighty man, who slayed Goliath, who destroyed lions and bears, who soothed the heart of Saul with a song. This mighty man who was anointed king fell for a woman on her balcony bathing. And I see this man, David, who was a mighty man, a mighty king, who sent Bathsheba's husband to the front lines of war where he knew he would die so that he could take her as his bride, even though he had a bunch. And in chapter 12, you see where Nathan goes up and says, King David, there's a man who is very rich that has a lot of sheep, and there's another man who has one sheep, who treats that sheep as his own child. The rich man had a visitor, and instead of killing his own, which he had so many sheep, he took the one sheep from the poor man. And David said, that man deserves to die. That man deserves to die. And he should pay back 4 times. And the worst part is he had no pity. What does he say? He says, David, that man is you. And at that moment, David had the moment we're talking about. A scream. He had that moment to where he really realized he had a problem. He really realized, and he stopped believing in his own hype for a second and put how great he was as the king and realized he was an adulterous, lying murderer. That's an awakening right there. And see, what David did is instead of sitting back and going, who do you think you are? I'm the king. I can have any woman I want. I can send any man to war I want. He could have easily done that, but he took the second route, and that's the route that will last you for the rest of your life in this, and it's death. Death to your flesh. There's many things my flesh wants, and my flesh does not like being called out. My flesh does not, come on now, if workouts didn't burn, everybody would do it. But when you're dying to your weakness, when you're dying to your addiction, when you're dying to it, it is a daily process. And the problem is if we choose to continue to bury it under lies and excuses, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And a lot of times when you see us older in age, it's harder for us to change the things about ourselves, is because when we push it low enough, it no longer just becomes our own hype. We now make our problems and our failures, they become our foundation. And see, that's the moment to where you are going to realize and see yourself for who you truly are. And it is someone that needs someone to save you. Christ did not just die on the cross to save you from your sin. He came to free us from every bit of flesh that just does not like Christ. My laziness. Our hypocrisy, our lying. When I go home at the end of a long day of work, and then we have a long day of different things, and I go home, I want to lay down on the couch. I would love to sleep, and I would love to have that. And believe me, I would lie to myself and say, I deserve it. I've worked very hard. But my daughters deserve the best. And see, there's a moment to where I'd be laying there and I'd go, I'm just going to turn their show on for them. And God goes, wow, you're really going to give them just the leftovers of you for this day. And I had to face myself and go, wow, really am I putting my daughters at the end of this? Am I really that? When it was the deeper problem, the deeper root, that I thought I deserved it. I could easily just said, you know what, I do deserve it. I work hard. I'll play with them later. Or I can die to myself daily. And even though I'm tired, give my daughters the best that I have. Same thing with Christ. Ask yourself right now, when's the last time you really read your word? When's the last time you worshiped? When's the last time you sought God? When's the last time you went up to the altar not to ask for forgiveness, but to seek for forgiveness for somebody else, or to really intercede for them? I challenge you, when you're faced with that moment, when you're faced with that utter reality of who you really are, do not dive back into who you are. Dive into who He wants to be through you. And I promise you, when you realize who Christ wants to be through you, things will start to fall away. And you'll be the person you wish you always would, or you wish you always were, because you look more like Christ. And when we look more like Christ, things will start to happen and change. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Revo TV, we're going to continue these things coming. You guys be blessed, and we'll see you next week. Bye.